Alright everyone, welcome back to another video. Last time we left off with the German drive towards the Moscow gates. They're halted at the Moscow gates. We're now on to what I hinted at in the end of the last video. Pearl Harbor. Japan declares war on the United States. December 7th, 1941. Japan enters the war in true Axis fashion. Well, you can tell how they felt about this. At dawn on the morning of Sunday, December 7th, just making sure, yep. December 7th, 1941, a force of about 150 Japanese bombers and torpedo-carrying planes launched a surprise attack on Pearl Harbor, the chief U.S. naval base in the Pacific. Hits were scored on several naval craft lying at anchor in the harbor, and two battleships, the Oklahoma and Arizona, were sunk. Other military objectives on the island, including Hickam Field, U.S. Army base, were attacked and considerable damage was done. The casualties amounted to 4,500, 2,300 of which were fatal. It was not until later in the day that formal declaration of war against America and Great Britain was made. The above picture, one of the best combat photographs of all time, shows the magazine of the USS Shaw exploding. You can see there. There's the USS Shaw, and yeah, look at that explosion. Wow. And yeah, so the idea for the Japanese was not originally to declare war after the attack happened. They'd given it to their delegate in Washington to hand deliver more or less right before the attack. But what happens is that it doesn't get... it just doesn't happen right away because there are things that got in the way of it, just stuff that happened, you know? And so the declaration of war doesn't come till afterwards. And yeah, so it looks really bad on Japan when they attack. So they did have the formal declaration of war, and they were planning on doing it before, but it just didn't work out that way. And so that, I think, is one of the things that lights the fire under a lot of Americans, is that this is seen as cowardly. You know, they attack when, but it's a complete surprise attack on someone, and it's, this devastating. Someone that you're not even at war with, someone that had no plans of going to war with you. I mean, maybe eventually, but not yet. But yeah, so it's seen as very, very cowardly and awful, and the American people get really upset by this. Pearl Harbor. 5 U.S. battleships stricken from the air. December 7th, 1941. Oh boy, look at all the text. Destruction on a Sunday morning. Japan's entry into the war, although sudden, was not unprecedented. Ever since the previous October, when the direction of Japan's foreign policy had fallen into the hands of the military clique under the leadership of General Tojo, that country's relation with the United States and Britain had steadily grown worse. The new premier had demanded a free hand in liquidate the China incident once and for all, and had declared that until America and Britain refrained? What is that word? Oh, refrained. My bad. Until America and Britain refrained from supplying arms to China and recognized Japan's leadership in the Western Pacific, no peaceful state settlement was likely to be reached. On November 14th, however, a special envoy, Saburo Kurusu, arrived in Washington to aid Admiral Nomura, Japanese ambassador, in the latter's talks with the United States government. 3 days later, General Tojo announced a 3-point program upon which he said the success of these negotiations depended. The points were: 1, third powers must refrain from obstructing the successful conclusion of the China affair. Number 2, countries surrounding Japan must refrain from presenting a military menace to the empire and must end all economic blockades. And 3, must exert their utmost efforts to prevent an extension of the European war to East Asia. On December 6th, President Roosevelt sent a personal note to the Emperor of Japan, but before any reply was received, and while Washington talks were still proceeding, the attack on Pearl Harbor announced that Japan had entered the war in true Axis fashion by striking first and declaring war afterwards. Testifying to the extent of the Japanese attack on December 7th, as shown in the picture on the left. It says on the left, but left to right. My bad. Left to right, the USS West Virginia, severely damaged, and then the USS Tennessee, damaged, and the USS Arizona, which I believe is back here, maybe, is what they mean, sunk. In the picture in the right, alongside the USS Oklahoma. Yep. So it is right here. This is the USS Oklahoma, and there is the Arizona, which capsized. The 31,500 ton USS Maryland was damaged slightly and was one of the first ships to rejoin the fleet after the Japanese attacks. In addition to the damage, to the warships, Hickman Field, the Army Airfield, outside of Honolulu, and a large floating dry dock were blasted to wreckage. On the same day, Japanese occupied the international settlement of Shanghai. Yeah, so like I said, there was a letter sent out to the ambassador to declare war before this happened, but it just didn't get out. And I think it was that they didn't decode it in time, or there's something that didn't happen quite right. And there are some good series on Pearl Harbor. One of them is Extra History. If you watch theirs, it's really good. You could watch the special from Indy Neidell on the Second World War channel. That one's really good. As well as Operation Room, I think, did a thing of this. And those are all really good. If you want to watch that, definitely do that. They go minute by minute with some of the attacks, whereas this is just going over a lot of the basic details that a lot of us may already know, but yeah. A Sea Queen goes down. December 7th, 1941. Pearl Harbor. The USS California settles into the mud of Pearl Harbor. Clouds of smoke. Here, I'll just show the picture. Clouds of smoke conceal all but the hull of the capsized USS Oklahoma. Far right, the next day, so it's over there. It's over here. That's what it means. December 8th, the next day, the United States and Great Britain formally declared war on Japan. In the United States, President Roosevelt addressed a joint session of Congress, after which a resolution was introduced in both houses and adopted with one dissenting vote. 3 days later, Germany and Italy declared war on the United States. And on the same day, the challenge was accepted by the American people. Yeah, so this is a big dum-dum thing to do for Germany. They didn't have to declare war on the United States. They could have easily said, no, we're not going to, because of Japan's refusal to declare war on the Soviet Union. But also they didn't have to. And it gives the United States a free go to get into that war in Europe. Even though, like, truthfully, they didn't have to. Or, like, the United States couldn't have easily gone to war in Europe. Maybe eventually they would have anyway, yes, of course. But they only declared war on Japan. It's just, but Germany doing this and Italy doing this seals their fate. And this is going to be the last page for this video. Pearl Harbor. After smoke of battle cleared. December 7th, 1941. Dry dock at Pearl Harbor. The jumbled mass of wreckage in the foreground of the dry dock, here you go, are the USS destroyer Downs, which is on the left, right here. It's this one right here. And the Cassin, which is, I believe, this right here. The battleship in the rear is the USS Pennsylvania. So back there. Flagship of the Pacific Fleet, which suffered relatively light damage from the Japanese attacks. Main and auxiliary fittings for the Downs and the Cassin are being transferred to new hulls. Yeah, you can see these ships are just obliterated. They've been completely destroyed. Very unfortunate, but yeah, they're gonna basically be repurposed. And truthfully, this attack, like, in the grand scheme of things, it really didn't do very much. America bounces back very quickly, but it's also because not all the fleet was here. A lot of the targets that they were going for weren't even here. So, yeah, this attack it is seen as a small success, kind of, but in the grand scheme of things, it really is a massive failure for the Japanese. But that's going to do it for this video. If you guys liked the video, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a comment. Tell me what I can improve on. I really appreciate your feedback. And as always, subscribe. It really does help out the channel. Thank you.